all the experiences I have gained has been on somebody else's money, somebody else's time, somebody else investing their time in teaching me.
A lot of experienced founders are taking people mandate as a key charter within their KPIs.
I realized that I should also think like a CHRO, apart from a CEO. Power law exists even in people. You will find 2 or 3 absolute rock stars who will give you a 20x, 30x return. How you have operated in the past.
Because I've worked with so many founders, I think I can zoom back and say that you still had a lot of clarity on how you wanted to org build.
There's a gratification in seeing people succeed. And it's very hard to quantify that because you're not making money.
Hi, I'm Rupali and this is Matrix Moments People First, a new conversational series within the Matrix Moments umbrella where we will bring amazing entrepreneurs, founders and leaders and delve into the stories of how they build successful businesses by building amazing teams around them. My guest today doesn't need any introduction, especially in the startup ecosystem, an ex-banker, operator, VC and an entrepreneur. Welcoming Revant Bhate. Revant, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I think on the 3rd or 4th podcast that is part of the...
You know how much we love you.
I sometimes think that I'm a guinea pig for most of the experiments that like I was a guinea pig for the banking ecosystem or as an operator or as a VC.
Our bar is very high if you can be a guinea pig for us. But Revant, thank you so much. I was indeed very excited because, I've known you. I have had the pleasure to have seen Mosaic journey from day -1, if I can say that, and have really seen the company grow from where it started to where it is now. And today, I think I would love to understand your perspective of how you build that team. But before we go there, I would love to understand what are you solving for and how big is the team?
Sure. So just a little bit about the business first, what we are trying to do. What we are trying to do is build full stack digital health coaches for elective health problems. Now, elective health by definition is a consumer discretionary choice and therefore the approach of a coach, purely digital, because that was where comfort was, if I can be honest, from the operating experience. And we are doing multiple platforms because they have to be personalized for every segment. So there's an elective health coach for men, which is Man Matters. There's an elective health coach for women, which is Be Body Wise. And now we have an elective health coach for parents as well, which is around the entire journey of parenting for, you have a child. I have a child between that age group. 3 to 12 is supposed to be a very enjoyable time, but sometimes there is some anxiety that needs to be relieved as well. So today we have 3 platforms. Hopefully we'll have 4, 5, 6. All depends on how the team sort of is excited to build out, right? Today the team is about 225 people full time. Quite large, I would say. Large enough that I'm taking stress about alignment and oh my God, what happened? Why did we grow so fast?
Okay.
But thankfully, at least we've been very... so we were born in COVID. So it was not easy to do everything remotely. And then subsequently we entered hybrid. And this April is when actually everybody is back in office, but we still have like 3 or 4 different offices in different locations. Right? Because we've been little employee first in that sense that we wanted to make sure that productivity remains high. So it's been an interesting journey over the last
primarily
years.
Mumbai and Bangalore.
So Mumbai and Bangalore is where, we were born in COVID, so everyone was remote. And then once we said, okay, let's come to office, we had to give a few options. I think now this is what it is. Right? I don't think it's going to change a lot because it's a sizable team in Bangalore also, almost 40, 45 people. So it's fine. I think people have figured out a way to continue to operate. And, culturally, I think it's going to be a little hard, but I'm sure it's a 3-year-old business. So lots to figure out.
Coming back to Mosaic, Revant, when we started working with you, right, it was very early, there's not even a domain registered, if I'm wrong, right?
We didn't even know what we were actually working.
Correct. There was a broad problem you wanted to solve, right? And there was definitely, I think the only constant was so much of ambiguity at that point in time. But because I've worked with so many founders, I think I can zoom back and say that you still had a lot of clarity on how you wanted to org build in your mind broadly, right?
Yeah.
So would love to, I think, get your perspective. What was your first principles that you used, right, while building the 0 to 1 team for Mosaic, where you yourself knew that there was so much of transitioning, so much of ad hocness built around the problem?
So, so how did I build my first team in the first year, right? You have to leverage your network, people who have worked with you in the past. And a lot of people, I think, give maybe added benefit to people who have worked in the operating side or a specific domain, right? Not sure if that necessarily is the case. As long as you get people to join you. See, ambiguity ka solve ek hi hai, right? Which is that you trust the leader and you trust that the leader will figure out stuff, right? So if you look at co-founder, we worked together, I think, 15, 16 years back in our first job. You know, Alma Mater, Sachin, who's my CRO, Geet, who was my first EIR, who now runs Man Matters, Monish, who's now CBO. They're all I am Koikod alumni who we had interacted in the past. Bunch of folks from previous jobs, right? If I look at Rebel, where I spent a little bit of operating, or K-Start, where I was running a fund, it didn't matter what people were doing in those companies or if they had prior experience, but they at least trusted that, Revant will figure it out, right? And I think that's a great way to build an early team when there is ambiguity. The other thing that has to be a little common factor is people being okay with that uncertainty of, where this may head in terms of their personal and professional growth as well. See, where the business will go, they can trust Revant, right? But beyond that, they also need to know that this is going to be good for their personal and professional growth. And that trust is harder to build, which is where, again, how you have operated in the past, how you have dealt with people in the past, and how you have built that. I would say followership is a very strong word, but in some way, get comfort to enough individuals who will be willing to join you in that 0 to 1 journey is super critical.
Yeah, because the opportunity cost for them is also very high, right?
Correct.
For them to let go of.
Correct.
But yeah, it might be a strong word, but I do believe the followership helps because for them, they had to resonate with what their confidence on you.
Yeah, I think it's also a little bit with respect to timing. Right? One aspect that I realize is there are a lot of great folks. Like, for example, I had called up even more people who had worked with me, but they didn't join. And if I bring in that variable as well, it's also timing of where people are in their careers. Right? To be honest, I think if I look at most of the folks, there is a commonality of timing that they were either jaded with what they were doing or they were looking for something exciting, but it was not coming along.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people ask you, things just gel, right? So it's not that I asked all the people in my network and everybody joined, right? The hit ratio even there would have been like 20-25%.
Okay.
But you need to have that network and your ability to at least those first 20-25%.
But that doesn't work now that you're building for growth, right? Now the team
still does.
It does.
If I be honest, it still does. But it has to work at a more at a higher order, if I can say that, right? So, for example, every time I would put out something on LinkedIn, would I get more applicants? Yes. Right? I still find that leveraging your personal network and putting yourself out there is always going to help you in recruitment for sure.
It does help, yeah.
Also, at least people know what they are ending up with, right? If you're an open book in that sense, like most of our interview rounds, I don't know if you want the public to know, but Rupali hates our interview rounds because we give a brutal truth to candidates as to how, we were 6 days working for the first 2 years, right?
Yes.
Most of the candidates used to just say no at back then. And it was much harder for you to help us recruit the team, but it is what it is, right? So if you are brutally honest about the situation, I think it's also a little refreshing for people when you're not selling unnecessarily.
You're also attracting the right people with the right mindset.
It's very important because what we have realized is misalignment of incentives is the biggest problem that ends up, right? And startups work on delayed gratification. The number one problem to be solved for every founder is easy in the first 1 year because maybe you raise the seed round. Everyone knows कि धंधा तो बना ही नहीं है.
Correct.
Right? जो बनेगा वो 4-5
बाद
साल
में
बाद
बनेगा,
दिखेगा.
हाँ.
So by design, the 0 to 1 stage folks come with delayed gratification in their mindset.
They're okay
though they
with
may not accept it. उन्हें पता भी नहीं होगा.
हाँ.
But वो decision वैसे लेते.
Correct.
But अब जाके,
हाँ.
so when we are at this scale, people know us and they're like, हाँ कुछ interesting बन रहा है. So now a lot more people want to join.
Yeah.
The problem is we're not getting enough people who are okay with delayed gratification.
लेकिन romanticism तो है ना थोड़ा before that. How do you separate that romanticism with the right, somebody who's evangelized the role with the right mindset?
So, it's a little interesting. When at seed stage you tell people, hey, you'll take a pay cut, people understand. I'll tell you why they don't realize they're signing up for delayed gratification, but they are sometimes. is उनका mindset already उसमें है कि यार seed stage है, I understand business बना ही नहीं है, तो pay cut लेना पड़ेगा. Today, people are like, hey, if you're this size, you have so much money and this, why are you asking me to take a pay cut? You can afford to pay me that.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's important to separate out and let people understand whether they're okay with delayed gratification or not.
Correct.
Right? I think we have a very democratic distribution of stock options for folks in the company. Because delayed gratification doesn't work by saying that aaj paisa kam milega. It's also that future is brighter. Right? Yeah. So you need to sort of work for this.
Yeah.
So it's still hard, I would say, because today the market is spoiled for options. And I think it's a good thing that India has so many employment opportunities where people can earn money that they never thought they would, or their parents never thought they would, and they can live a great lifestyle, right? I mean, look at the stock option buybacks that are happening right now, and the kind of, I know everybody's screaming about real estate prices in Bangalore, but
amazing use cases.
It's a good thing that people are earning money. It's a good thing that they have options. But I think that founders, whether at 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and even at sometimes 10 to 20 stages, need to understand that if you want to generate supernormal profits, if you want to go public, you want to give great shareholder return. Today, suddenly, ROCE is a big name that's being thrown, right? Yes. आपको costs control में रखने पड़ेंगे. So you will have to make sure that whoever is joining you is aligned to the fact that some companies which have 25% EBITDA can afford to pay you those, but startups cannot, right? Even in the 1 to 10 stage or 10 to 100, irrespective of the fact that they raise money. And alignment still needs that founder is still working on delayed gratification. See, till the company goes IPO and is developing, giving 30% ROCE year on year, founder is still sitting on the risk.
Correct. True.
Right? VC is sitting on risk, founder is sitting on risk. So employees have to take certain risks, which is, I think, the conversation that doesn't happen enough in life.
Tell me, and because it's been 3.5 years, 0 to 1 to 1, early 1 to 10 stage, right? And you had use cases to refer to, as an operator, as a VC. You're a very successful angel investor, so you've seen.
Being successful is a very dangerous word to use in our ecosystem.
You are a prolifically busy angel investor. However, galtiyan to hui hogi during org building. Some of the learnings, Revant, that from your own journey of building.
I think goes back to the same statement I just made. I think wherever I could not align on the fact that building startups is very hard.
Yeah.
So one aspect is the delayed gratification of how wealth gets created. Salary versus,
equity,
ESOPs and stuff like that. I think that's the easy answer. The harder thing is the fact that you don't have as many resources as you would have had in a larger organization. So I think the biggest struggle or the most common mistakes I have found is, if I reflect on individuals who didn't acknowledge, or I failed at making them understand how hard building
the
this
journey
out
is.
Lesser resources, not just for you. चलो तुमने ले लिया है, चलो मैं पे कट पे आ जाऊंगा और मैं मेहनत कर लूंगा. But beyond that, you are not working with the same quality of people. I'm not saying I have bad quality people. I have great quality. I have a great team.
Oh yeah.
But it's not. You can't expect the same level of team that maybe a top tier consulting firm has, or in terms of just raw IQ, push, energy, etc. Because they are getting paid 5 times the money, right? On different reasons. So how you work with constraints on people, on time, time kam hota hai. People are paid lesser overall. So maybe the ownership or the energy level, I don't know. There are different reasons, right? So it's just harder to execute in a startup. Lesser resources, more constraints. I don't think people are able to align with that till they enter that situation. So if I can summarize, people who have done 10 to 100 journeys, right? And large organizations are epitome of 10 to 100
Correct.
journeys.
True.
Even if they feel they can do 1 to 10, or even if they are really excited to do 0 to 1, nothing prepares them as much for that till the rubber hits the road.
Yes.
And if you're a founder, let's say you worked in a 10 to 100 company and you're saying, I want to become a founder, which is a 0 to 1 journey. I think mentally you prepare for the pain because तुम founder हो. But अगर आप employee to employee shift हो रहे हो, ठीक है, थोड़ा पे कट लिया, थोड़ा ESOP लिया, but फिर भी वो mentality founder वाली नहीं रखोगे ना, तो बहुत pain होता है. And then there is dissonance. So I think one mistake I would say is, I think I have got a few 10 to 100 folks, even for the 1 to 10 journey, which
who thought they would do it, but the reality was.
Because it's just hard.
Yeah, got it.
And you know, it's not just their fault. I think it's still my fault because I didn't prepare them mentally enough for it. Second, even if you've not prepared mentally, you have to invest time. You have to be patient, right? उतना patience 1 to 10 journey में नहीं था मेरे पास.
Time भी नहीं होता.
होगा भी
नहीं. Yeah.
नहीं, see, honestly, if you have to scale now, you know, ये जो लोग बोलते हैं 0 to 1 for 1 to 10 same लोग नहीं होते हैं, but CEO को तो करना पड़ता है.
They have to transition, right?
I have to transition to become a good coach.
Correct.
I think I'm still learning that, and I think it's a super hard journey, right? And the simplest thing to understand, but the hardest thing to do in being a coach is patience. And for a 0 to 1 founder and a CEO to transition 1 to 10, I hate the fact that we are slowing down.
Yeah.
Because as a CEO, I want the speed to continue, right? And that emotional dichotomy is a little hard to traverse.
But interesting problems to solve.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm enjoying the fact that this is a good learning for me, right?
Yes.
Post the mistakes, देखो एंड में वो हाथ जलाना पड़ता है. अब मैं समझ गया हूँ कि नहीं, I have to be more patient.
करके ही आता है.
तो now I'm learning that patience, right? Only when you lose some rock stars who I thought would have done better if I had been patient with them, I do realize that no, I should have been more patient and given them more time.
But is it this reason of zooming in and thinking, in introspecting, that I know that you've also taken the chief's people officer mandate within Mosaic?
So that was one learning I had, that, I've done finance, I've done marketing. Even before I started this business, I've been CXO in every other year. I've done product.
Correct.
Engineering to aata nahi hai to chhod do, dimag mein matlab. That's why I luckily got Shavik and he's taken that mantle. I have some piece there, right? I actually never run large teams. Okay, I was always a 0 to 1. Banking 0 to 1. Even within Rebel, whatever operating experience, always 0 to 1 experiences. K-Start was a 0 to 1. I was competing with MPI saying that, oh no, don't take native term sheet, take my term sheet. Right? This is the first time I'm doing 1 to 10.
Yes.
And if you have to invest in people, fundamentally, I realized that I should also think like a CHRO, apart from a CEO. Right? So what if I take that role also? Then it's almost like cheating your mind to say कि don't think like a CEO, think like a CHRO. So कुछ ऐसे hacks करने पड़ते हैं. और मुझे लग रहा है at least I am improving in people management after taking on that role, because I was a little, if you're thinking like a CEO, think like a CEO, right? You need to empathize with the functional head's responsibility as well. And we have a great person who's leading HR today, but I have requested her that, let me be the CHRO for some time, so I can train my mind how to do this better.
But great use case for a lot of founders, right? Because generally this aspect gets a bit ignored. That's the reality. Business heads, right? Dhanda banana hai becomes important, which should be the case.
We're too ruthless in our...
which should be the case, but it should not be either or. Right, it shouldn't be only business, right?
It's a hard thing to do both.
No, I agree, but it's a great example, and I see this happening a lot in a lot of experienced founders now who are taking people mandate as a key charter within their KPIs. Great. Tell me more about you run a very interesting program within Mosaic Wellness, the entrepreneur in residence program. I think you've been doing it for the last 2-3 years.
Since
Tell
we
us more.
started,
Yeah,
yes.
tell us more, because a lot of time people confuse it with chief of staff program as and
So we have all
founders of,
programs.
yeah, okay, founders
So I'll tell
office
you very
program.
simple
Yeah.
maths thing. People sometimes get confused कि अच्छा आपने इसको EIR क्यों लिया?
हाँ.
Simple thing. If you are a absolute fresher,
हाँ.
undergraduate,
हाँ.
like this year we are recording this in 2023.
Yes.
So 2023, if you are passed out and you have no clue what to do,
हाँ.
you have zero experience on the CV,
हाँ.
we have called something called a fellowship program.
Okay.
1 year program.
हाँ.
Like VCs have analyst programs
Yes.
for 2 years, we have a 1 year fellowship program. Come experience multiple functions,
Okay.
decide what you
Where
want
to
to
do.
do. Because if I reflect back to when I was 21, I was absolute clueless. We just went and did something and everyone crips.
Yes.
अरे ये क्या boring काम है, बहुत अच्छा नहीं है. आप आ जाओ क्रिप कर लो.
हाँ.
I'm sure you will not find a lot of interesting
हाँ.
stuff. And at the end of the program, if you don't like product, marketing, tech, then भाई कुछ और कर लो.
कुछ, हाँ, हाँ.
Right? There is a program manager. We used to call it chief of staff, but then there were too many chief of staffs in the company, so we said, okay, now let's
Okay.
call it program manager,
Okay.
which is 1 to 4 years experience pre-MBA.
Okay.
Right? Again, so you've
हाँ.
done a couple of things, but
हाँ.
you have learned, but तुम्हें explore और करनी है चीज. And then there is the post-MBA or the 4 years plus experience, which is the EIR program.
Wonderful.
All three are generalist programs where people want to explore their passions.
Yes.
That is the reality. See, not everybody can become an entrepreneur, but everyone wants to test that
Test.
hypothesis that do I want to become an entrepreneur? Can I think like an entrepreneur? Can I get something? Can I do ज्ञान आता है ना Twitter पे? Work doesn't feel like work when you are having fun.
Yes.
Right? So people are looking for that.
For that. Yeah.
And I realize that everybody is looking for it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But they don't know how to get there. So each of these programs helps people to get there. Right? The only constant is these are generalist programs, right? If an engineer comes and says that I have a passion for business and I want to explore that, it's rare. We have not found those. Generally,
Okay.
these are graduates or post MBA folks who are like कि यार हमें लगा था कि हमारा career इस direction में जाएगा, but either the roll of the dice was not as per our liking. Placements are sometimes it's anybody's guess how they
but,
go, right?
But I've met some of those, right? Very high quality of folks.
So that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
If I look back, I'll be very honest, in some ways, it's a reflection of how my career has gone, right?
Yeah.
People took bets on me. I passed out in a recession. It was a great institute, but the recession was recession, right? So people get screwed in.
Yes.
There's actually a Harvard document that I'll send it to you later. People who pass out in a recession, forever in their entire lives, they are always behind the folks who passed out in a boom.
You're 2009, right?
Right? So, but people took bet on me, right? I got a first job, then somebody called me and said, come do this, right? Somebody referred me to Vani and said, why don't you do these? Like, it's always been someone looking out for me in that sense. And I think we give too much. Maybe it was easy for me to reflect on this. Most people plan their moves. I never planned any move. And if I look back, then all the experiences I have gained has been on somebody else's money, somebody else's time, somebody else investing their time in teaching me, allowing me to make mistakes.
Right. And I keep wondering then why is there not,
such things more like, and of course I joined Rebel as an EIR and all the operating experience. And I burnt enough money
of the top VCs in this country to make those mistakes and learn, right? And all of that was allowed. And you have to think that, ye opportunities kahan mil rahe hain, right? So it's a rare combination that worked. How do I programatize that, if possible, is the attempt. Now, will we be successful? I don't know. Do all EIRs work? No. Do all program managers do well? No. Do all fellows who join us do well? No. But it's an acceptable risk, like how VCs invest and say that these portfolio companies, sab thodi, but power law har jagah hota hai. Actually, this is the most interesting learning I've had in life, that, and it's not that I'm very old, I know thoda gray hair hai, and I have 20 more years hopefully.
Power law exists even in people. You will find 2 or 3 absolute rock stars who will give you a 20x, 30x return. Nobody thinks about return in that sense, right? But if you actually map out what you have invested in them and what return they give you to the company, to the fund, whatever it is, right? there's an absolute power law in people as well. And this is something that no one wants to acknowledge because सबको लगता है मेरी salary भी ये होनी चाहिए. इसने ऐसा क्या किया, right? You see the real standouts, but those people are usually following the power law. Yes, some people get lucky, right time, right place. But in my experience, you have to keep investing in,
you have to invest, lekin.
You have to invest. And yes, you will get a little frustrated, like a little bit of the patience coming in from the CHRO. Thoda frustrating hoga. But when you start seeing one or two really stand out and take up and build P&Ls to the next level, it's worth it.
But Revant, I think, at least, not that I'm having this conversation and that's what I'm saying, I think what really heartening with these mentoring, coaching that you've done, right? A lot of these great folks that you have trained, invested, when they want to explore something out, you've been the biggest cheerleader evangelist for them. And saying that, and you've introduced them to me, of which I have further introduced to other people, and they're doing amazingly well in other companies, right? So yeah, it takes a lot to invest on them.
The difference in the VC power law and this power law is you are not going to make. It's not very clear if you're going to make profits of that person.
Yes.
But that's fine. I think at least it's far more enjoyable. Again, if I look back to people who invested in me, I don't think they have necessarily got any financial benefit after I left the firm, right? A law of compounding does help. So whatever good work I did would have helped them for the next 3-4 more years, even after I left. But after that, then the next team would have taken over, right? So yes, that helped. But I think in the end, we are human beings, right? We are not robots. So there has to be something to enjoy in life. And if you can develop 50, 100, max 200 relationships that you can invest in. See, that's what we do, right? If you have friends, you have family, you invest in relationships. I think we are all getting a little lonelier, and in the end, workplace does define either friends, hopefully not family, but nowadays too, families also start at workplace. But in that sense, it's good to invest in people and then help them succeed.
I am not complaining. You introduced me to some amazing people, and and the multiplier effect comes into play.
As long as they don't come back and compete with me,
that I can't assure.
No, that happens also. It's happened also. But it happened. Right? People are ambitious. Right? So, but it's good to see ambition taking fruit.
Yes.
Right? And in some ways or form, I think it's an interesting cycle to, if you've seen the full cycle now, there's certain, I don't know how to convey it, but there's a gratification in seeing people succeed. And it's very hard to quantify that because it's not making money.
That means you're already transitioning like a coach, by the way, if you feel that genuinely.
Maybe.
Yeah. I have now a couple of rapid fires for you.
Okay.
Your leadership style.
Aggressive.
Because you've done work from home and now opening up, work from home versus work from office.
Work from office.
Non-negotiable when you hire.
Hunger.
Why is it called Mosaic Wellness?
So it's a complicated word, but mosaic is essentially an intricate pattern.
Okay.
A design. It's a very intricate pattern, and everything needs to come together for it to look beautiful.
Wonderful.
So the business is actually very complex. It may sound simple, but a lot of things have to come together and align perfectly to get the beauty in the end.
Wow. Who would have thought? This is the reason, right? The most overrated thing in startup.
It's a very hard one.
There are so many.
No, actually, I find a lot of stuff about startup very intriguing and I'm not sure there is something overrated valuation.
Okay.
That's the simplest answer to get.
Yeah. Actually. Got it. This has been amazing, Revant. Thank you so much. I look back to the journey of Mosaic, and believe me, I know there has been a lot of learning for you. You said, I've learned this, but at least as a partner in terms of introducing you to people and all, I think one thing that was constant from day one was the clarity be it functional, be it intrinsic, that you wanted to see in people, in the team that you build, right? Be it the 0 to 1, so 1 to 10. And I can only see this growing manifold, right? So all the best, right, as you build, and I look forward to continue working with you. And
please do keep referring us great folks, as you've always done.
No, but
we'll try to make our interview process a little simpler.
But no, this has been complete pleasure, and all the best as you take Mosaic Wellness to the next level of success. Thank you so much.
For your support.